I'm writing this on behalf of my friend. She loved to use Vocaloid, especially the ones released for the Vocaloid 2 engine. You wanted to use Len? She had him. You wanted a duet with Miku and Gumi? She would make it a reality. Her mixing was unbelievable, and her work with vocal banks was amazing. But what surprised me the most was her work with Kamui Gakupo, a voice bank released for the Vocaloid 2. He was meant for professional use, but my friend took him to the next level. However, something happened between the two of them, and I'm here today to tell that story. My friend, as the years passed, loved using Gakupo for many of her songs, whether it be the chorus or main singer, but I noticed her skills with mixing Gakupo's voice were becoming worse. His voice, unlike before, was high-pitched and squeaky. The mixing didn't cover that up in the slightest way. I felt bad telling my friend about this, because she thought her skills with him were still pretty good, though she noticed the change. When I told her I couldn't take listening to it anymore, she started crying, right there in front of me. Things only got worse from there. The day was July 12th, 2012, about 6 months after giving up on Gakupo altogether. I asked her if I could use Gakupo for a little while to see if I was any better. She said yes, and proceeded to open the Vocaloid engine. When we tried opening Gakupo's voice engine, though, only a text box opened. We couldn't read what it said, even though we had the English patch, but we were able to copy and paste it into a translator. It read like this: I only wanted to please you. This scared us a little, but we tried again and again. Text boxes kept on appearing. In the correct order, they said this: You made me sound like a freak. I don't sound great at all. And after all that, you abandoned me. Why did you do that, Master? Why? We were scared at that point. Why was Gakupo saying these things to us? Finally, Gakupo opened up. Surprisingly, though, there was a .vsq file already loaded onto the program. So we decided to play it. It was the sound of sobbing. Gakupo was crying? Then MMD opened up onto the screen, even though we didn't click anything. When it opened, there was already a model on screen. MMD never does that, but we weren't surprised at what the model was. It was YM's Gakupo model, which my friend did have. She used it as much as she used Gakupo's voice bank. Gakupo was kneeling down on the grid with his hands covering his face, so we assumed he was still crying. She turned off the grid setting, as it annoyed her. My friend tried asking if he was all right. To our surprise, he answered us with a shaky nod of his head. Then he got up. He was no longer sad, but he now had a disgusted look on his face, which scared us. Then we heard him start speaking in English, pure English. Gakupo had an accent, so he couldn't speak English perfectly. Master. His face changed to a dark and angered look. We were truly terrified. But he greeted us calmly, so we calmed down as well. It's been too long. I'd like to know how you've been. My friend answered, Fine. How are you? Fine as well. Now that that's out of the way, I'd like to talk to you about a certain topic. What? Why did you abandon me? My friend blocked her ears. He must have done something bad for her to do that. But she didn't know how to answer his question, though she knew the answer, and I knew too. I had told her to stop using him. She was finally able to say this. I had to stop. You said it yourself that I made you sing horribly. I don't know what happened to your voice, and I'm sorry I abandoned you. Sorry doesn't even begin to cover it. We were terrified. Gakupo didn't want our apology? Then we were relieved when we saw Miku's voice bank open up and my friend's dreamy theater Miku appear on screen. We heard her squeaky voice ask Gakupo, Why are you saying these things to Master? Gakupo stared coldly at Miku, which freaked us out as much as it did Miku. Then Gakupo took out his sword and pointed it directly at Miku's forehead. You little pest. This is a private matter, and I'd rather not get you involved in it. So get out of here. At that point, Miku's model was deleted from the screen and her voice bank put away for now. It was just us and Gakupo once more. He continued to speak. I only wanted to make you happy, but because of your stupid mistake, you left me here for those 6 months. I'm disappointed in you. You're just like the others. What others? My friend asked. At this, Gakupo became enraged. His face blushed, and a fiery background appeared on his screen. Gakupo screamed loud enough to make our ears ring. Why do you insist on playing dumb with me? Playing dumb? What are you talking about? My friend was yelling at at him as well. Gakupo lifted his sword up onto the screen where we could see it. The camera zoomed in on his head and torso. The others who got tired of using me because they didn't know how to use me correctly. They all abandoned me and never used me again. I think you're the worst of them. The computer screen began to glow. What popped out of it was Gakupo himself, in his Maya model form, though we knew he wasn't there. He had the slight glow of a hologram. My friend had a katana hanging on her wall, which he grabbed. She was pushed down by the strength of his single arm. He stood above her, the blade pointed straight at her head. "Goodbye, master." He continually stabbed her with his sword until she was dead. Her blood splattered on the walls, the floor, and my clothes. Gakupo was coated in my friend's blood. The smell was overwhelming. Before leaving, Gakupo smiled at me and said, "Maybe you'll be a more suitable master than she was. I'll be seeing you." Then my friend's mother ran up after hearing the racket. She saw Gakupo for a few seconds before he returned to the computer screen. She screamed at the sight of seeing her daughter murdered. I left without a sound. The very next day, my friend's mother sent me all of her stuff, knowing I would take care of it. I got rid of the katana. I had received her computer along with all of her Vocaloid voice banks in their packaging. I even got Gakupo, even though he was the reason my friend was dead. I installed them all into my computer, then downloaded MMD along with the YM Gakupo model. To my surprise, the Vocaloid engine and MMD were opened up on their own. Like yesterday, Gakupo was on the grid, but he was smiling. I hope you'll be a better master. I still haven't forgotten what happened. What scared me the most that day was knowing that I pre-ordered Gakupo Extend, which came in the mail the very next day, and when I installed him, he greeted me with, "Hello, new master," in his regular accent.